to RoShamBo, the podcast about unique competitions, extraordinary events, and other amazing adventures. I'm Kim, and hey, how the heck are you guys? I sincerely hope you are all very well, all things considered. I know that being separated from our communities has been incredibly challenging, and I truly hope that you guys are checking in on each other and figuring out ways that you can stay connected. It's been really hard for me watching so many extraordinary events fall by the wayside this year due to the pandemic. I know organizers have found themselves making really tough calls, and I know many competitors are having to keep their skills sharp and wait until next year, 2021, to get to compete. But still, there are some event organizers that have found a way to bring their events online and welcome their communities into a virtual space. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It takes a lot of planning, creativity, and passion to pivot a live in-person event to something that happens on the old interwebs. And today, I have the privilege to inform you that the folks at the U.S. Air Guitar Championships are ready to take on that challenge. In case you're new to the podcast, we covered competitive air guitar last year. It was episode 42. It's a super fun listen. And if you can, you should go back and check it out before diving into today's episode. Don't worry, we will be here when you get back. Anyways, last year during the episode, we got to chat with the co-founder of the U.S. Air Guitar Championship, Kristen Rucker, and today I have the pleasure to welcome Kristen back to RoShamBo. Kristen, hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well, all things considered. What a strange year. So U.S. Air Guitar Championship is usually broken down into regionals and then finals. At what point did you guys realize you weren't going to be able to go forward with your regionals?
We had started, I think 4 or 5 of them were completed when we were starting to obviously think about, okay, this is the way things are going. It's looking like this is not going to happen. And so I think it was early March. We pretty early in the game, saw the writing on the wall, and we knew the finals. We thought like the venue for the finals still had venue listings going, but it just seemed impossible that there were going to be live events in August.
Right.
So we kind of shut it down at that point.
And when you shut it down, did you have anticipation of trying to create this online forum, or was it just too overwhelming at the moment to even think of moving forward?
Yeah, it's interesting. When we shut it down, we basically said we certainly weren't ready to commit to doing something online. And we had always wanted to do something online, but had never gotten our act together. And so I suppose it took a pandemic to get something going. But it took a little bit of while, and I think it took a good deal of testing before we even felt comfortable saying, let's actually treat this as a real event kind of thing.
But you're at that point now. It's happening.
It is happening. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be a learning year for sure, but it's July 25th. We will be doing a live competition on Twitch.
And how is that going to work?
Behind the scenes, it's deceptively complicated, but to the viewer, you'll log on to twitch.tv/US Air Guitar, and you'll basically see a pretty close approximation of a live event, all done kind of natively online, where you'll see a dashboard with an MC, and the right-hand side will kind of alternate between 3 judges that you'll see live or color commentators. The dashboard will also be kind of showing what competitors up, what the scores are, a leaderboard kind of thing. So it's a little bit almost like an ESPN, kind of scoreboard overlaid on a video version of an air guitar contest.
Oh my gosh. I so commend you guys for making the effort to bring this online, and the challenges that I could imagine that you're facing seem to be huge, mainly because, as with so many live events, so much is about the audience. Is it still possible to get really into it without having the live audience?
We'll find out.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I think in a way, part of the reason to have the judges and the commentators there, the audience essentially is you at home watching with them. There will be chat. So there's actually, and when we see some of the live streams we've done in the past, there's pretty robust conversation going on online among people who aren't there physically. So I think there is sort of an online version of that, but we're gonna have to see what that feels like. I think there's a learning curve, I think.
Do you think that the doors would be open to someone who might have been too afraid to get up on stage that might actually participate this year?
100% possible. One of the reasons we've always wanted to do something online is broader reach, whether it's for people who just wouldn't ever dare do it on stage, or it's people who aren't close to a regional, whatever the reason, theoretically, it's much more open now. So that's also an interesting part of it.
And have you gotten all of your submissions, or are you still collecting?
Still collecting.
All right. How does that work for people in case someone hears and is like, this is my year, I'm going to do it?
If you go to usairguitar.com and then click on, there's links there to enter the online competition. And then it's pretty straightforward from there.
Well, in case I've encouraged people to go back and listen to our original episode, but in case they haven't, what is involved with their submissions? What do they have to give you?
Yep, they're submitting a 60-second air guitar performance that they record themselves. There's some guidelines around how to record it, but pretty much the one thing you can't do is you can't edit it in post. Like you can kind of art direct the setup. You can edit your audio track so it's the perfect audio track for you. But you can't do kind of multiple takes and cut it together kind of thing. But it's pretty straightforward. And then those will be evaluated by a committee of air guitar elders, if you will. And that'll kind of determine who's in the online contest. It may work a little different in future years as we get kind of more sophisticated about this stuff, but it's pretty straightforward this year.
So you do anticipate being able to keep some sort of an online version in the future?
Yeah, at the very least, like even if we imagine next year's finals, I'm gonna assume, and as I knock on wood, that there's a vaccine and live events are happening, that the exact same technology can be applied for a remote viewer, where the only difference is the performances you're seeing are being filmed at the venue. Right. So you still have a dashboard with the scores. You still see the judges in their boxes. And it's essentially more like a TV broadcast of a live event at that point. We're just doing it over the internet.
You know, you're so passionate about this, and I appreciate so much the energy that you guys have put into making this still a thing, even with the pandemic. What is it about air guitar that keeps you so passionately involved?
I think it's funny. It's not love of air guitar, actually. Which I do have a probably strange love of. It's essentially the community of lovable weirdos that have grown up with it and gotten really good at it and are like the veterans and the people, you see on this regular cadence of air guitar season every year. They're kind of amazing people in their own right, and it's just fun. So I think that's probably the number one thing.
I mean, you've built an amazing community.
Yeah, no, it's really much more. I would never have guessed, I think, at the beginning, that would become the number one thing.
So tell me a little bit how this community's been able to stick together through all of this weirdness.
There is a Facebook group that's very active, and there have been the one thing we did that was a little more formal that was going to happen anyway was we've had a Hall of Fame that has been a little bit neglected over the past few years. So we kind of rebooted with help from a number of people in the community, the Hall of Fame, and did sort of an induction ceremony. That was done on a massive Zoom. And that was kind of also where we kind of announced that we actually are going to do an online competition. But it was great fun and people within the community gave, the kind of traditional, like sort of congratulatory retrospective speeches about each inductee.
Fun.
So that was one of the things. And then there have been some other fun events, like one air guitarist did essentially a video game where he, I guess, ported avatars of air guitar characters into the video game where it's sort of a fighting game. So did some kind of like funny air guitar wrestling. It was like air guitar professional wrestling video game that worked really well. And that was fun. And that was done live. So I think there's a lot of little things going on online that are ways for the community to stay connected and that are, I think, all feeding into what I hope is, after all of this, one of, I guess, the side positives that come out of all of it is that we'll have better and more kind of richer ways to do stuff online that we could do throughout the year, even when the live events aren't happening.
That's great. And who was inducted into the Hall of Fame?
So this year it was the Marquis, he's the reigning U.S. champ, who also won the Worlds last year, so he's U.S. and World
Yes,
champ.
we love the Marquis.
Oh, that's right. You spoke to him.
Indeed.
Then the Lost Heartbreaker.
What is the Lost Heartbreaker's persona like?
He's sort of, I guess you'd say, like a bit like classic roots rock everyman, but just a very pure, and he's really good, great stage presence, great technique, but amazing airness. So he's pure airness if you go back to the judging criteria.
Remind everyone what airness is.
Airness is the inexplicable je ne sais quoi. You know it when you see it. Supreme Court definition of pornography category that is the hardest to achieve. And some might argue you're either born with it or you're not. So he's got tons of that.
That's awesome. You said that there are newcomers this year. Anyone that was completely off your radar and you think is just participating because they don't have to get on a stage?
There's a couple newcomers that I don't recognize so far. And I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm curious to find out. And I think as we get closer, many more entrants will start coming in. It's relatively recently announced, so and I think there's no advantage to submitting early. So I think people are spending time on perfecting their routine.
Oh my gosh, I am very excited.
If you're interested in watching, now it's easier than ever. It's free. You don't have to be in the city that the finals are happening in.
Right.
So if you go to either usairguitar.com or twitch.tv/usairguitar, July 25th, you'll be able to watch the US finals.
It's very rare during this pandemic that I get to make plans, but I'm super excited about July 25th now.
Yeah, wish us luck. We're in dry run number 2 coming up this Saturday, so we're deep into production. So we still think it's going to work.
I have faith in you. You're going to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to update everyone. And I'm really excited to see what happens on the 25th.
Awesome.
Well, that was so dang cool. And you guys, you still have time to get in touch with your inner airness. The deadline for submissions is July 20th. Thanks for spending time with us today. I appreciate you guys. And if you enjoy the podcast, please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast provider. And if you want to get to know us better, check out our website. It's RoShamBoPodcast.com, or look for us on Facebook, Instagram, etc. All the music you hear on RoShamBo is provided by Cadillac Jones. They are jazz funk legends from Atlanta, Georgia, and we are very honored that they let us use their music. Thanks again for spending time with us. Till next time, people.